Welcome back to Five's YouTube channel, Joe. Game week 1 is now done, and we are going to be looking back on game week 1, but also looking ahead to game week 2. First of all, just going to get your smugness out the way because Joe did get the most points.
Yeah, shock horror.
Out of people in the
shock
room.
Horror. Yeah, I still think I'm about 1,000th in the Five Fantasy League. I think there's like 50,000 people in there. I'm 1,000, so I'll take that actually, because it could have been a lot worse.
I'm 12,000.
Are you? That's shambles. There's no way I'm 1,000th then, because I only think got about 3 more points than you. So there's no way I'm 1,000th. I think we need to check the standings and have a look at my team.
Right, let's take a look at your team then. So you got 68 points.
I did.
And I'm looking there, that back 5, 7, 7, 7, and 7 from Edison.
Yeah.
Trent's the only one that let you down there.
Trent did let me down a little bit, but obviously I don't think anybody was expecting Fulham to be quite as good as they were and Liverpool to be as off it as they were. My team, I tweaked after last week's show, obviously, and I bought in Kieran Trippier. I actually think Kieran Trippier is going to be a big point scorer after that first game, just because of the amount of set pieces he's on. Yeah. Cancelo looked unreal. You were there. Reece James.
Do you know, it's actually funny that was one of the worst games I've seen Reece James play for Chelsea. However, he got booked. And he didn't get a goal or an assist, but he somehow still picked up bonus points, which also makes me think he's a brilliant FPL asset because he's going to play every week, I think. And he does whip balls into the box. And I think that's why he gets bonus, because of the amount of balls he does put into the box and crosses that he makes. However, we've got no one to finish them, so that's why. But Reece James is a solid FPL asset. Yeah,
I also tweaked late and went for Edison in goal. I just thought that was always going to be a clean sheet there. And I think it's going to be another clean sheet this week against Bournemouth, which is kind of playing in my mind about transfers going later in the week. But I also said I was tempted to triple captain Salah. I bottled it.
Yeah, we said it, didn't we, last week?
I bottled it. I'm kind of still happy I didn't triple captain him because, it would. I think there's bigger game week rounds to come and it's just too nerve-wracking to do it early.
It is, but what I would say is it is a risk whenever you triple captain and everyone saves it for a double game week, yet 90% of the time, those players, it's either late on in the season or it's around Champions League games. Yeah. So those players that you want to triple captain don't necessarily play 2 games. Yeah. So sometimes it is better to just pick a random game week with a team with a good fixture and actually fully go for it. However, like you, I'm absolutely never doing it on game week 1. But Salah's record in game week 1 is just so ridiculous.
So good. It is so good. But I'm tempted to triple captain maybe one of my forwards this week. Just to stick in the midfield though. Martinelli still, I think, is massively underpriced at that at that price.
I was actually so annoyed when I saw him.
He should have scored 2 as well. He had a massive chance early doors. So I think he's going to be a big point scorer. I do think there is a temptation for me because obviously Luis Diaz in that £8 million midfield bracket. Like there's a temptation to also have Saka this week. I think they are going to be so dangerous, that Arsenal front three. Or Kulusevski. Luis Diaz, Kulusevski, Bukayo Saka. I'm so torn. I just think across the course of the season, Luis Diaz is going to be the highest point scorer. Obviously, hit the post on the weekend against Fulham as well. And then the less said about my fourth midfielder, the better.
Sorry, I literally... This is just absolutely hilarious. And I sort of understand why you did it. You went a bit rogue.
I went rogue.
You went rogue.
I went for the differential,
Yeah, you went for a differential. And when we get to my team, I've gone for differentials as well. So I understand your thinking. But Anthony Elanga, please just explain.
Well, it was last minute. It was very last minute. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I didn't think Ronaldo was going to start. I'd convinced myself Ronaldo wasn't going to start. And I thought, if he doesn't start, Elanga might play through the middle. And if Elanga plays through the middle at £5 million, it might be a differential worth gambling on. I gambled on it. He didn't start.
It didn't pay off.
It did not pay off at all. But, this is FPL.
You live and you learn.
This happens, doesn't it? He's straight out my team this week.
So when we're looking at Kane and Jesus, I just can't work out how Harry Kane, Spurs scored 4 and Harry Kane didn't get a single goal or an assist. Gabriel Jesus looked very good in the opening 20-25 minutes against Palace. However, and I think everyone's going to keep him in their team. So, I think everyone should be keeping him in their team.
Definitely.
No Haaland going into game week 2. That's what I'm looking at your team and thinking.
Yeah, it's a problem for me already.
Obviously, you want to take Elanga out. So what transfers are you thinking of doing?
Early doors, immediately, I think the obvious battle is Kane versus Haaland, isn't it? And the price change has already killed me to a level. Obviously, Haaland going to 11.6, Kane falling to 11.4. So it's a 0.2 swing early. And I I wasn't smart enough or quick enough to make the transfer straight away before that price difference happened.
Yeah.
I think I'm still going to take the hit. I think I am going to bring Haaland in. Against West Ham, he looked freakish, absolutely freakish.
Terrifying.
Obviously, Bournemouth at home this week as well. Some people are saying that he might be rotated out. I don't see it at all. I think Haaland is there to stay. He was sensational. So I think I'm probably going to take a 0.2 hit, swap Kane out for Haaland, and then I'm probably going to just bin off Anthony Elanga, maybe bring in Andreas Pereira, drop him to the bench.
He looked pretty good against Liverpool, didn't he?
But I'll still probably drop him to the bench. And then I'll play Leon Bailey, who has, I think, Everton at home. And Everton, I'm massively unconvinced about this season. So those will probably be my two transfers. Leave 0.3 in the bank for myself. But I'm still disappointed about the Kane, Haaland front two battle because I think I've come down the wrong side. Yeah.
Right. Should we have a look at my team then?
Let's do it. Let's have a look at this one then. Ramsdale in goal. Decent start.
Yeah, I mean... A goalkeeper, I don't like spending too much on a goalkeeper, but for the saves he made last season and his performances last season, I just thought he was a solid bet. And I said last week, I did want an Arsenal defender or goalkeeper. Happy with Aaron Ramsdale. He'll make saves across the season. He
was brilliant against Palace. Yeah, there was some huge saves from Ramsdale in that game that kept Arsenal in it, especially when it was at 1-0. A couple of one-on-ones, especially one from Eze, was a huge save.
Yeah, and I think he'll continue to do that throughout the season. I think even that Leicester game, Leicester will get chances like Palace did, and I'm sure he'll make a few saves in that game as well. So I'm happy with Ramsdale. Again, I had a similar back three anyway, James, Trent and Cancelo.
Matty Cash.
Yeah, so I've already made my transfer ahead of game week 2.
Cash out.
I'll tell you that in a second. However, I'm looking at him thinking, how can I get him out my team? I'm not willing to take a -4 just yet. However, I took -4s across a lot of the season last season, and I will do that. And I don't think people are almost scared to take hits, but actually I think sometimes it is worth it.
Cash especially, I think he's at home to Everton, isn't he? So it's not the game week to take him out if you gambled at the start.
And I disappointed. I didn't think they would lose to Bournemouth. I didn't think they would concede to Bournemouth. So if he does concede to Everton, especially with the situation there and the players they've got out as well, I will be looking to take him out my team for sure.
What about this midfield then? Because there's one name popping off at me already. I think I gave you abuse for him last week. Dewsbury-Hall.
I was so excited when I was on holiday. And I'm sad. I was on holiday checking my FPL team, and I was obviously looking at the Leicester game, and they went 1-0 up, and I was like, not Dewsbury-Hall. And then when I saw who scored, I literally came running down. I was like, Dewsbury-Hall's just scored 10 points. Yeah. I am so happy with that.
Not as high a point scores from Mount and Rashford though. No. Rashford is a big gamble, isn't it?
Rashford, after we did this for game week 1, I was looking at taking him out, and I did a couple of drafts when I did take him out, and then stupidly on Friday last week, Friday afternoon, I was speaking to a Man United fan who had him in, and I was like, he's definitely going to start. And literally, I don't know why I didn't just go with my gut, which was to take him out. Yeah. But he had chances in that game against Brighton. That one and it flashed across the box.
2 huge chances. Had 3 shots in the box as well, which is high.
You've got to be scoring. I mean, what I'm going to do, Brentford away is a very tough game. However, like I said, I'm not willing to take hits yet, so Rashford will be staying in my team. Yeah. As will Mason Mount. I'm not too fussed about Mount. Chelsea didn't play that well against Everton, to be honest.
He is in that 8 range though, which is also, Kulusevski and Luis Diaz.
So at least I've got good options if I do want to take him out. I've got a little bit of money in the bank, so if Kulusevski goes up or Luis Diaz goes up, then I have the money to do that. However, like I said, Chelsea have got good fixtures. He's going to play every week, and I like that he's a little bit of a differential. Maybe that's me with my Chelsea hat on, but there's a lot of more popular players in that price bracket. But I quite like the idea. He got 3 points, which is better than 2.
So are you going to be also joining me on the bidding Kane for Haaland bandwagon?
I already made that sub.
Wow.
So my plan anyway.
Before the price change.
Yeah, so I said before anything, my plan was to have Harry Kane for game week 1 because of that Southampton at home fixture. Yeah. But I was always, regardless of what happened, I was always going to change to Erling Haaland for game week 2. And that actually made my decision easy because Kane blanked. Had Kane got 2 returns, 3 returns, 4 returns even, that would have made my decision really, really hard. However, as soon as he blanked, even before I saw what Erling Haaland did against West Ham, I was like, get rid.
That's so brave.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that there is maybe value. I'll also be moving to Haaland from Kane, but there might be value if you don't want to take the hit in just holding out, because I know they had a terrible record against you last year, but after this Chelsea fixture, Kane has a really nice run of fixtures, and it is impossible for him not to score eventually and then go on a run.
To be honest, I do look at that Chelsea fixture, and they've got a pretty poor record, even at Stamford Bridge.
They were terrible last season against you.
Yeah, I mean, in the 4 games, they didn't score a single goal. There just seems to be a mental block with Spurs because they play really well against Liverpool. They play really well against City, who are much better teams than Chelsea. But there's just something about Chelsea that they can't quite, like a block they can't quite get over. However, under Conte, it's meant to be 35 degrees on Sunday. I think that'll suit Spurs better than it'll suit us.
We'll get the heat out here. The heat's coming out.
We've got an excuse just in case we lose. It was
35
too hot, and
degrees.
they're much fitter than us.
The Jurgen Klopp of FPL here. The dry grass is out again. What are you talking about?
No, but I actually think they saw Conte with Spurs in pre-season. They were being sick on the side of the pitch. Do you know what I mean? I just think they look a lot fitter like Conte this season. But this might be the game that Kane, they'll have chances against Chelsea, they will. But for me, it made sense to go to Erling Haaland because that Bournemouth at home fixture is just too good.
Yeah. I mean, should we have a look at Rio's team as well? Because,
absolutely. This is what I've been looking forward to the most.
Stinking.
Right, so looking at Rio's team, Sanchez in goal I don't think is necessarily a bad pick.
No.
I actually had Sanchez for a lot of last season. He does make saves.
He did have
4 points.
Did have a bit of a whiff against United from the corner. I think the goal was almost entirely his fault. But across the rest of the 90 minutes, I thought he was very solid.
Yeah,
and Brighton looked great again under Potter, despite selling their 2 best players. They still looked as solid as ever. I mean, the decision from game week 1 to captain Kane. You've got to captain Salah game week 1.
Rio, have you never played FPL before?
Literally the king of the opening game week, Salah, every single season.
I think he scored 5 in a row.
Yeah.
5 opening days in a row.
Although, to be fair, Tottenham did score 4. Somehow Kane wasn't involved.
I mean, I had Kane. I wanted Kane, but I was never, ever going to...
Had to be a Salah captain.
It has to be a Salah captain.
And I think he's done that this week. He's moved to Salah this week, hasn't he? Stuck with Jesus. In fact, let's let Rio explain his choices right now.
Right, guys, it's fantasy football again. I'm back. I had a bad start to the season, man. My forwards didn't produce. Joe and Olivia taking the mick out of me in the WhatsApp group. I can't believe it, but... Kane and Jesus, my 2 forwards, didn't produce, man. So I've made a couple of changes this week. I've brought in Zinchenko in place of Perisic. I just think he's going to be a bit more up the pitch. He can give me a few more points, I believe. His value's gone up a little bit because of his performance. And I'm sticking with my midfielders, and I'm sticking with Jesus and Kane. But guys, what do you think?
So Rio's going to be captaining Salah for game week 2. I think a good decision. And also taking out Perisic for Zinchenko. And Joe, he's the second most transferred in player this week, just behind Erling Haaland, who's got nearly 1 million new owners. Nearly a million people have transferred
That's
Erling Haaland in. I mean, Zinchenko, I think, is also, that move Rio's made does seem to be a good one. And a lot of people are agreeing with him. Would you be looking to bring in Zinchenko?
I don't think I'd be looking to bring him in this week. I do like him as part of an Arsenal pickup at the back. I also think Saliba would be a really good choice at the back as well. I thought he looked very, very solid. But obviously Zinchenko playing as a fullback kind of offers more in the way of attacking options, doesn't he? So I don't really have a problem with it. I probably wouldn't be making it this week. I think there's other options there. But I'm tempted to captain Jesus this week, which is obviously going totally against the grain because everybody is going to captain or triple captain Haaland against Bournemouth at home, which is understandable.
Joe's just actually said he's going to triple captain Jesus,
not
which
triple
is definitely...
captain,
Yeah, you just said that.
I am tempted to captain Gabriel Jesus against Leicester. Obviously, it was only pre-season, but when he had his first run out of the Emirates, pulverised Sevilla, scored a hat-trick in, I think, 60 minutes. And I can see him pulverising that Leicester backline, especially, let's say, in the next 48 hours, something happens in the Fofana deal and he isn't part of the travelling squad or something, and Leicester are stuck without him. I think Jesus is going to run riot against Leicester. So I'm tempted to captain him.
Maybe we should focus on Manchester United next and have a look to see if there's any assets from
none.
that club
that
anyone should pick.
There's none. There is none. I mean, who do you take from that side? I think Manchester United defensively are all over the place, aren't they? At the back, you would maybe say the fullbacks because Erik ten Hag wants to play really high, but I thought they were both suspect defensively. Centre-backs look suspect defensively. De Gea, I would not be betting on keeping a clean sheet. The midfield too, less said about that, better. And then going forward, I don't know, does Ronaldo start? Maybe he comes into the team?
That's the thing. I think that's an interesting one.
It's a gamble, isn't it?
And because of his price, when you've got Kane and Haaland as well.
Yeah.
And you just know if you've got the choice, albeit he did score goals last season. However, the way the summer's gone, I don't think many people will be going for Ronaldo.
At their price points, the options are probably, Rashford, who, like you said, 3 shots inside the box, huge chances.
6.5 mil, which is very cheap.
Yeah, very cheap.
Obviously, it's a big risk.
And Christian Eriksen, who I thought was much better when he dropped deeper. But if Ronaldo plays, does Christian Eriksen play? And maybe he plays in place of Scott McTominay. I'm not too sure. I think it's way too big of a gamble to bring in any United players in. I know that Rio will probably to the wall be backing some of these Man United players, but I just think, steer clear for now until they find their feet under Ten Hag. Just before we have a look at some of the best performing teams in the league, then let's talk about our captains. Are you just sticking 100% behind Haaland?
Yeah. So in my head, I always have this rule where, like, if my captain performs, I'm going to stick with them. However,
binning Salah.
Yeah,
after 1 week,
that's gone out the window ASAP. No, I just think, having watched the 2 performances, Salah was average. I know he gets FPL points even if he plays badly, which is evident against Fulham. But Bournemouth at home, no one's getting in my head and telling me that Pep is going to bench Erling Haaland for this game, because I think he wants him to win the Golden Boot. Salah's won it for however many years in a row. I feel like he wants one of his...
He doesn't care. He doesn't. Did you watch the interview afterwards when he was like, I think the interviewer said, "Oh, are you not sad you didn't let Haaland get his hat-trick?" He literally just went, "I don't care."
No, I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't think he's going to bench him. And so for that reason, I'm going to stick with, I'm going to move over to Erling Haaland. Just because his performance against...
There is the worry, though, in the back of your head. The pet roulette, isn't it? That Julian Alvarez plays through the middle against Bournemouth.
I don't want it to get to me.
I know.
Because last season, there was far too many times where I had a captain in my head and I changed it last minute because of what other people were saying. I've learned, if there's one lesson to be learned in FPL, it's go with your gut. Don't listen to Joe and go with your gut. Your first captain... Don't change it.
Am I going to go Jesus?
You're not.
We'll see on next week's show whether I went for Gabriel Jesus, but this is going to be a last minute decision. This is something in the back of my head that's going,
I always say go with your gut. Go with your gut.
Yeah, but this is just you trying to say this, because then I'll jump down the league and you'll jump above me.
Yeah, especially if you don't transfer Haaland in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, looking at those 3, Salah, Haaland and Jesus, which are obviously the 3 most popular, they're going to be the 3 most popular captain picks just because Kane and Son face Chelsea. I do still think Salah's probably going to be the most captained player ahead, in game week 2.
Wow.
I just think people will stick with, he was obviously the most captain player in game week 1. However, it might be close between him and Haaland.
Yeah.
But I think you're right in terms of if you captain Jesus, it will be a big differential.
It's a big differential, I'm telling you now.
And you can see the returns are just
nearly
there.
They're so in reach, aren't they? But I don't know. We'll see what happens next when we look at this back next week, whether or not I had the bottle to do it. But let's have a look at some of the best performing teams from the 5 Fantasy League right now.
So there are over 50,000 FPL managers in the 5 League. And the top 3, Joe, unreal, all got over 100 points.
Over a ton off of game week 1.
Fair?
I tell you why, because they listened to me when I said last week triple captain Salah. But I didn't do it.
You need to take your own advice.
I need to start following my own advice about triple captain Salah. But yeah, shout out to Bobar Bekadoyev, unique 104 points.
Top, you are number 1.
That is ridiculous.
I'd be taking a screenshot of that.
Yes.
If I'm ever top of any of my leagues that have got loads of people in, taking a screenshot just to remind myself.
Rocco, 103 points, a very solid return. Unlucky not to be top. And then Harry, 102 points. If you got over a ton game week 1,
it's ridiculous. Although they have used a chip, haven't they? So do you know what I mean? It's not like if they hadn't have used a chip, it'd have been so much more impressive. Yeah. It's still very impressive because everyone can use their triple captain at the wrong time. Yeah. And they all obviously did Salah.
True. But Boba, hats off to you, mate. Hats off to you. And all you can say is that Rio actually knows who you are now, because you are top of his league and you've made mincemeat of him. Right, there's no Friday night game this week in FPL or in the Premier League. So your deadline is 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. That's obviously UK time. Remember to get your teams in by then. And we'd love to know who your captains are as well. Yes. Because that's going to be a big decision going into game week 2. Jesus. Are you Salah? Jesus. Are you Haaland? Or are you like this man? Jesus. Gabriel Jesus. We'll see you all next week.
My top 4, I said City, Liverpool, Spurs, and then I think this is going to be a shootout between your boys, Chelsea, Arsenal, Chelsea, and United.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.